Good evening, everyone, and welcome. See you later, Chris. This is your Rangers review full-time reaction video, instant reaction after a pretty sobering evening at Ibrox in the Europa League tonight. Rangers on the end of a 4-1 defeat to Lyon. And it was 4 going on, about 6 or 7 in all honesty. Jack Butland saved Rangers from sheer utter embarrassment tonight. Outclassed for much of the match. The only goal for Rangers, an equaliser from Tom Lawrence, but that equalising goal never lasted long, in all honesty. Rangers masters of their own downfall for much of the game. And I don't think we can any arguments with the scoreline. Malik Fofana was scintillating at times. He ripped Rangers on various occasions. His pace just had Rangers defence in knots. And I think Tavernier will be having nightmares about him. Alexander Lacazette with a double himself. Second goal on the stroke in his first half stoppage time. Lashing the ball past Jack Butland. And Fofana rounded things off. Goal number 4 arrived. He scored from a couple of yards out after nipping in front of James Tavernier. It was a good move from Lyon down Rangers' left-hand side. The ball across the face. And there was Fofana to tap into an empty net. I think it was Jerky that managed to bundle his way through. It was before the goal started, Joshua. Rangers started brightly. Václav Černý had a glorious opportunity to put Rangers ahead. He blazed over, a real shocker from him. That sort of if that goes in, it might have been a different scenario, perhaps. It doesn't know. The Rangers goal, Tom Lawrence, Cyril Dessers incidentally should put into the back of the net, but he hits it off the goalkeeper. Tom Lawrence does well to react and bundle the ball home. That aside, not much else to talk about, really. What did you make of it all, Joshua?
Yeah, I think you're right. Sobering at night is probably the best way to sum it up, Derek. I mean, Rangers started pretty well. Tavernier had that chance after 3 minutes, didn't he? But that in and of itself, the fact he was so high up the pitch, we spoke about this on the show before we came on. Does that defence have enough pace in it? Would Clement regret not playing someone like Casemiro or Sterling when you consider the strength that Lyon had on either wing? He would probably turn around and say, look, okay, yes, Rangers were caught in transition. Tavernier, especially for the second goal, really poor. I'm sure we'll come on to him. Clement obviously replaced him on about just after the hour mark with Casemiro. He would probably point to the fact that Černý misses an open goal and Tavernier misses not an open goal, but a really good opportunity as proof of an ambitious approach was the right option. He'd probably point to the fact that Connor Barron plays a blind pass around the corner that he doesn't need to. He started really well at Rangers. Obviously, that's a bad mistake from tonight. He'd probably point to that and say, well, again, that's not something I can control. If Rangers kind of keep their foot on the ball a bit when it's 1-1, they actually look decent enough in stages of that game early on. However, when that defence was left exposed, when Tavernier went high, especially because not even high, but when he moved into the kind of attacking third and was trying to attack the box, because Chefty was so high on the other side of the pitch, it left Proper and Suter way too exposed. And there was a moment where I think Butland made the save. Suter couldn't even really confront Fofana, but he was turned inside out, and those two centre-backs were too exposed, I think, for the pace and mobility that they have. Listen, the defence comes into this game in a pretty good place, but I just think that if you look at how Rangers approached this game, with hindsight obviously being a benefit, they didn't have enough pace in that defence, and it ultimately cost them. So yes, you can say from Clement's point of view, and I'm sure he will raise this in the press conference, they created sufficient chances in the first half to put themselves in a better position. When you look at the space that Lyon had to hit on the break, when you look at the fact that in the past when Tavernier's kind of played that role in European games at the stadium, Derek, you've had, Ryan Jack covering him, or a defender deeper, could have been Dujon Sterling tonight, or on the other side, you've had a fullback tuck in. So I think it would have made more sense if, say, Chefty was in the left wing tonight, and you had Casemiro at left back, as we saw in Malmo, and then you have a little bit more cover. It felt, from my vantage point, looking at it, that Rangers lacked that, and that ultimately led to them conceding way too many chances. And as you say, Ibrox was holding his breath and points to that. The potential of that becoming more than 4, because Churchy and Fofana were really untouchable at points tonight.
Yeah, it worries me that the manager took so long to make that Tavernier substitution. We knew, like we said, Joshua, in the pre-match video, we knew they were going to be a threat down at the flanks, and they were almost getting past the Rangers defence at will. It was a real concern. The manager, for me, was too reactive instead of being proactive. I know he made a substitution at half-time. I didn't see Kieran Dill for a Tom Lawrence. I wonder if that's as a result of that knock he picked up when he put that ball in the net. I actually thought Dill did okay when he came on, but we know his limitations. But yes, so I mean, Rangers, as I touched on earlier on, masters of their own downfall at times. I think he got his team selection wrong tonight, the manager. Christopher McLaughlin with the point says the Tav substitution was a big statement, and imagine this is the start of the end. Too late, I'd suggest. Yeah, you never had them in your starting lineup, Joshua, and with hindsight, I don't think the manager should have started him. It's sad to see, actually, Tavernier, because he's been such a big player for Rangers on European nights down the years, but he's up against top-class opposition. I'm sorry, he's done.
I think defensively, yeah, we spoke about it so many times, Derek, but when Clement, and listen, Clement again, he might say that injuries elsewhere limit him, and he needs to use Sterling's minutes elsewhere, as he did in the right wing tonight, or he might say that Casemiro still getting up to speed. However, and Lyon did set off the game a little bit by the time Casemiro came on for the final 30 minutes. I thought he did better up against Fofana. I don't think the question this season was if Tavernier was going to stay, and there was dubiety over whether that was going to happen this summer. The question was not, can he influence certain games? Because he can, and I still think, speaking after this game when he's had a really bad night, then certain games at Ibrox, in particular against certain opposition, he's just come off the back of the defence that's getting 4 clean sheets in a row. It's not that he's a constant.
Yeah, but I mean that. Yeah,
in a game like. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, 4 clean sheets in a row, that's okay, but you're not coming up against opposition like they were tonight.
Exactly, which is why I think we spoke pre-match about the fact that does what he gives you in a game like this now, and again, Clement would maybe say, look at his chance after 3 minutes, he doesn't finish it. Does what he gives you in an attacking sense now make up for what he doesn't give you in a defensive sense in a game like this game tonight? And listen, I thought John Souttar was probably just as culpable alongside him tonight, Derek. But that fourth goal, Tavernier losing his man at the back post isn't good enough. And we know that Casemiro or Sterling, they're better defenders, aren't they? Like Sterling's probably, I would say, the best one-on-one defender at the club. Yeah. And again, there's a question, okay, so should Clement maybe have changed his tactics somewhat? Should he have played Chefty higher? Again, he might point to the fact that Rangers created chances early on, but look at how many they conceded at the other end. And that was mistakes that Lyon forced them into as well. So no, I agree with you. I think the fact that he turned and made that substitution after 60 minutes tells you that he knew he had to make a change there tonight. It tells you that he knew he had to make a change at right back. And I think a lot of people would have been able to call that previously. Tavernier has his critics, he has people that will stand up for him. What's clear is that he's older than he was a couple of years ago. And again, the upside you get in these European games is what he gives you defensively, especially now given how Rangers are playing with wingers. They've got more players in the attack. They'd have really benefited, I think, from having a more natural defensive player in that position. Casemiro was playing a lot of his games at centre half. We know that Sterling is a good defender. That wasn't the case tonight, and as I keep coming back to it, I just thought Proper and Souttar looked so exposed in big acres of space in that first half.
Yeah, he's a weak link in matches like this. The right-hand side, we said it before, it's just a weak link, and Rangers do have players, better options for me, and I would like to see changes made by the time Steaua Bucharest come to Ibrox and beyond. There was a point come in as well, the second goal, that the Lyon goal, I never mentioned before, of course, it's a mistake from Connor Barron. It's a blind pass from him that allowed Fofana to run through, and he played a square pass to Lacazette. He doesn't miss from there. So, it's a learning curve for young Connor Barron as well, Josh. I mean, Rangers, like I said earlier on, masters of their own downfall at times, misplaced passes, a lack of cutting edge in the final third. And against teams of this calibre, you simply get punished. It might be okay doing it against, no disrespect, the likes of St Johnstone this weekend. You may get away with it. You don't at this level of competition.
Yeah, and again, the Cherney chance, which you've obviously referenced, is a huge moment because it's an open goal. And if any player needed that to go in tonight, that's him. And it didn't, much like in Malmo last week, he looked like a player who wasn't confident taking that. If that goes in, go on.
Yeah. No, carry on. Yep. Go.
Yeah, but that goes in, obviously, it's a different game. So again, Clement's going to point to these moments and probably say that chance and the Tavernier chance. But even in spite of that, you're right, at the other end, because of the way Rangers set up, they conceded so many chances. I think tonight, you see, even if you'd had a Casemiro or Sterling at centre-back, you could have maybe left a little bit more space in transition, but it just felt like Rangers were so open watching it from my vantage point here against those wingers. So yes, you can say that you cannot miss those type of opportunities when Lyon are so ruthless at the other end, in particular in the first half. You can't give away a throw in as cheaply as Rangers did for the third goal, and then Suter's not tight enough at all to Lacazette. Tavernier at the back post for the fourth goal, and Fofana sneaks in behind him. We've discussed the other ones already. So yeah, but it's not just a simple case of one team took the chances and one team didn't. It felt like, again, to keep coming back to it, for the upside of Rangers' approach, which was that they created those opportunities early on, they just conceded so much at the other end. And Barron, it's a bad mistake. You could see as soon as he played it, he didn't have to play that pass. He's been really good since he came to the club. You're going to make those errors, and it was unfortunate for him that I think both Barron and Proper kind of go to one man, as opposed to one of them staying at the back post and trying to stop Lacazette, which would maybe have helped. Both of them trying to make up for the error quickly, and that led to Lacazette ultimately being free at the back post. So yes, it is a story of, and I'm sure Clement will say this in the press conference to a degree, he'd be right, it is a story of one team took the chances and one team didn't. But equally, I think you've got to look tonight at team selection. I think you've got to look tonight at tactical changes. The fact that Dowell came on, who did all right, but the fact that Casemiro then comes on after an hour when Rangers are already 4 goals down. I think there's a lot of questions on the back of that tonight, especially for Rangers, who have been in decent enough form coming into this game. It's a difficult result and a difficult performance for them.
Yep. For me, Czerny looks a man devoid of confidence. I thought he was poor last Thursday, and that miss, a lot of fans are not having him, Joshua. I tell you what, I know the manager said that Yanis Hadji isn't up to speed with the first team. I'd rather have Yanis Hadji starting on Sunday than Václav Czerny, I'll tell you that. I'm not convinced by him. And again, I just don't see... I think there's quality there, but at this moment in time, he's someone that really is lacking in confidence, and that miss really summed it up. It was... I know it's before your time, but it was 10 times worse than Van Vossen's against Celtic. It was brutal. And
but there, you see, if you think back to, so I agree with you, and he looks like a player who'd probably, I don't think he'll start on Sunday against St Johnstone.
It's not working.
Play McCausland in there. People have come back from more difficult starts at Rangers. He could probably be doing with taking out the firing line. See, if you think back to his goal against Motherwell in his debut, and you remember the kind of confidence he hit that with from range, you thought, this is a player who actually will score quite a lot of goals when you saw him hit a shot from that range. And as we've mentioned before, this season at FC20 that earned him that big money move to the Bundesliga, he scored a lot of goals. When he went through on goal in Malmo last week, and we spoke about this after the video last week, he looked like a player devoid of confidence. That's the type of finish that he's hit so often in his career, opening up his body into the far corner. And that was a bad miss. Tonight's obviously a different level. It's one that, I'm sure you'll remember for the rest of your career, and the stadium was kind of in disbelief. And Rangers did respond positively after that. I thought Barami is worth a mention. I thought he actually had a good first half. Yep. His final ball, you kind of notice it because no one else has had it in this team, but his final ball is constantly really well weighted. He sees passes like Lawrence in the lead up to that Czerny chance that other people don't. And he's not, when he's isolated out wide, you can tell that's not his favourite position, but he's a classy player. And that was evident tonight in a poor performance. Chefty struggled against Churchy defensively. Churchy's one of the best young wingers in the world.
You'll learn from this.
I thought it was a difficult night for him. In that position, especially when he had to get up and support so much on the to get up and support and provide so much width on the left hand side. So it was a difficult evening for him. Again, it begs the question: should you then maybe introduce Casemiro into the starting 11 and change your shape slightly? Clement doesn't tend to do that, so it'll be interesting to see what he has to say, whether he does concede that some things went wrong from his point of view, or whether he does just point to the missed opportunities and say it would be a different game if not for that Barron pass, if not for that Czerny miss, if not for that Tavernier miss. But equally, you could look at that second half and the elements of the first half, Derek, and say, well, what if Lyon were more clinical in other moments? Because as you say, Butland Butland was called into action more than a few times in that game, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Before we wrap up, Lawson taking credence at me calling this FSSB Stoya Bucharest. So, FSSB to have the rightful name. So, there you go, Lawson. Thank you for correcting me on that one. Darren Nisbet says, Super Ali's observation of the game tonight was spot on. Yeah, absolutely. Although the good thing is, when Rangers did lose to Lyon in 2007 and 2020, the club then went on to reach the European final of the competition. So every cloud and all that, Joshua. But I'll let you go. You're heading down to the mix zone to speak to whatever players that are making their way over there at this moment in time. It'll be interesting to hear what the manager has to say about this, and also what players and their reaction to the match it's been at. Yep, like we said earlier on, it's a tough old evening for Rangers tonight, and certainly plenty.
I think you just say finally, Derek. Sorry, but just finally before I go, I think if Clermont and Rangers are honest in that second half, they probably feel like they got away with conceding a couple more goals. Yes. From how that game had the potential to really run away from them. In a worst case scenario now, they write that off, and they, I think, adapt, because you've got teams like Tottenham to come here who are a better team than Lyon. You need to do something differently with that defence, with the pace that's in the starting 11, and try and obviously get a positive result against St Johnstone at the weekend and maintain the domestic record. But there's no doubt that, yes, Rangers did create chances with their approach in the first half. Yes, they were unlucky in certain moments. Yes, 9 times out of 10, Cherney should find the back of the net. 9 times out of 10, Barron doesn't play that reverse pass around this corner. But there was much more to that game. There was so many more runs from either Lyon winger, and Rangers just weren't set up well enough to deal with that. So we'll dig into it a little bit more on the website tomorrow to look at some of the reasons why. But full reactions to come from the manager and A players, some players as well in the mix, on which people can watch and read the website over the next couple of days.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, thank you, Joshua. Rangers outclassed tonight, unfortunately, and won't be watching that one again in a hurry. But I'll be on again tomorrow morning. Chris will join us, and we'll just dissect the match in greater detail. So we hope you can join us for that, folks. But thank you for tuning in, and what has been a tough old night down at Ibrox way. But thank you for tuning in. Your comments as ever, and we'll speak to you tomorrow. Good night.